This is about two people who don't know each other very well going on a day trip together. Alice was ready at noon, barely. When Joe rang, she slipped on her jacket, stepped into her unlaced boots, and came down the stairs. She drank her coffee while they waited in line for the ferry. They went and stood on deck for the crossing, staring at the water and the mountains half visible in fog. Joe had his own coffee. He ate a couple of Alice's grapes. He had as little to say this early as she did. They communicated in grunts. When it was time to get in the van again, Alice crawled in back and lay down on the mattress and went to sleep. She woke up a couple hours later when they stopped for gas. She gave Joe a bread and butter sandwich. He'd bought some homemade split pea soup across the street, and they dunked the bread in it. Alice hated split pea soup. It was slimy, and who would want to eat anything that color? But this was good. She ate so much of Joe's soup he had to go back and get another cup. She felt better, more awake, and curious about where they were going. "Want me to drive?" she asked. He didn't. The road turned a corner, and there was a lake. The water was silvery. Clouds rolled in over the hills across the water, changing the light. It was like one of those old photographs when they didn't know what they were doing yet, and everything was as accidental and meaningful as it is in a dream. The road twisted around steep-sided mountains. The water looked cold and deep. In late afternoon, they reached the place Joe was taking them. He parked the van and they walked among trees. Trees always had some kind of presence, but these were old, with roots reaching down to the center of the earth. Alice felt small and obtrusive, like a gnat. She stepped softly. Moss and centuries of tree leavings made the ground springy. She wandered away from Joe, following something. One tree in particular spoke to her. She put her hands on its bark, its rough skin. After a while, she put her cheek against it. It didn't mind. What was it Dylan Thomas said? Something about a green fuse. She felt the green fuse. She felt the tree life pulsing under the bark, a slow drawing up of water to air. All her own worries floated to the surface. Then the tree pulled them up and away from her. Gnat worries. They were gone in a moment. She looked around, feeling watched. No one was there. It was the trees watching her. She lifted her shirt, unzipped her jeans, and pressed her belly against the tree. She was asking for a blessing. Later, Alice found Joe. He was sitting on the ground, his back against a tree, his eyes shut. He had taken his sunglasses off. It was only then that she realized he'd had them on all day. She felt like a voyeur. She was going to go away, but his eyes opened. He looked straight at her. His eyes were light, blue or green or both. He didn't say anything. He stood up slowly, dusting leaves off his butt. Alice followed him back through the forest. On the path, he stopped and picked up something, a feather, and put it in the pocket of his biker jacket. Alice had a stone in her pocket. She had found it at the foot of the tree and knew it was all right to take it. They came out of the trees and saw the sun dropping below the cloud cover before it fell into the ocean. They watched from the van while the sun changed. The top of it flattened, the yellow giving way to dark pink streaked with black, like someone had painted an ink wash across it. It moved down the sky and was gone. For one moment, Alice forgave everybody, even her parents. Joe lit a cigarette. He rolled down the window to let the smoke out. He drew deep, making the ash glow red, and exhaled smoke on a long sigh. "I've been trying to work out how to get Angel to cut loose from you," he said. "I noticed," Alice said. Well, she had. He hadn't bothered to hide it from her, although he'd probably hidden it from Angel. "I mean today." The road was empty. No one was around except Alice and her enemy. She put her hands in her pockets. Her hand closed around the stone. "So what are you going to do?" He started up the van. "I just did what I'm going to do," he said. "I told you." When he finished the cigarette, he lit another one off the butt before mashing the first one in the ashtray. The sky was dark, the sun gone. Alice watched in the rearview mirror. Only reddish-tinged clouds were left. Joe chain-smoked. "Why'd you tell me?" Alice asked miles later. "So you'd know," he answered. "If you're going to keep smoking, give me one." He gave her one. She lit it, breathed in shallowly, and blew smoke in a thin stream. "Do you smoke?" he asked, like he didn't think she did. "Keeps my eyes from watering when everyone else is smoking," she said. It made her dizzy. It reminded her of the first year of art school before she'd quit smoking. It also gave her something to hold on to that was a weapon, fire. "You could be trying to throw me off by being honest about what you're doing," she said. "That would be an Aikido move." In the light from the dashboard, she saw his surprise. "I could be," he said. "You're not going to scare me away from Angel," she said, suddenly furious. "I know that," he said, being angry back. "I'm not an idiot." "No," she agreed, blowing smoke, thinking, "You're a manipulative creep."
This is a poem I wrote about the Navajo reservation in Arizona. It's called Chinle, Arizona. Too long in taking the hand of a Navajo man, black hair, red-capped, stumbling from behind the corner of the convenience store, mourning. Red mesa buttes, mute rocks in a turquoise sky, high iced and solidified into dirty beads, cracked and dangled around his dark neck. "How's it going, friend?" Clipping voice, words cut from low tones, moist, words snipped out of manic trains of taut thought, running reels of private scenes, words clipped, moist between each, a space, a listening face, white snow eyes, and a hand shaken before we part, held too long, held, his blood pulse a bird heart, rapid throb against skin, of thumb, of raw palm. "Oh man, I used to be, oh man," vibrating voice, a psalm, low, eyes yellow moist, voice low, moving low, strumming, running low, between each a space, a loss, a waiting space, a waiting loss, and a silent listening face. Ghost beads, juniper seeds, and I used to be, oh man, and he breathes with needs for ghost, sees, for he is unhaunted. Ghost beads and needs for the woman digging her nose in the old olds, needs for the soft hands of the old man clutched around the pump, gurgle of gas, click of humped knuckles, feet shuffle, needs for the cellophane food inside refracting white snow light, to be in the cars swishing by, wishing, needs for pain, needs for anonymous me, please, a hand shaken before we part, held too long, gripped too hard, strong, black hot, and here now, and there now everything is still. The gas pump thrum, still. The clicking knuckles, still. The cars rushing by in fell raven swishes, still, and too long in holding the hand of a Navajo man, too hot, two floods of blood bashing themselves against walls of skin, of cold, and cold skin, crashing then still, still.